Good afternoon, everyone. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews, and I am your literary ambassador. And today I have Audrey Heard on my channel today. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be here.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here. I just want to say I've been following your channel for a while, so I'm glad to be here and share what I have for everybody. So I'm just excited. I'm doing well today.
Okay, thank you. Okay, tell us a little about yourself.
I am a serial author. I just use the word serial because I've written so many books. So I'm a serial author. I originally published my first book in 2009. I self-published because I couldn't find nobody to publish my first book. And so I self-published, and I later started my publishing company, which is called IBG Publications. So I not only publish myself, but I assist other authors with publishing, coaching, and marketing. And so that's the short version of who I am and what I do.
All right, tell us a little about your books that you have.
My first book is entitled Through the Fire, and Through the Fire is my personal memoir where I talk about my tragedy that happened in my life back in 1998. There was a house fire that erupted in my home, and it claimed the lives of my son and my grandmother, and I was the only person who survived. And so I talk about what happened that night, trying to save them from the fire, not having the ability to do so, signs of grief and depression, how to overcome and turn a tragedy into triumph. Yes. So that's my first book. And some of the other books I've written are also about grief and depression from different perspectives. I also have a book about toxic relationships, getting ready and recognizing the 12 signs of a toxic relationship. And also a poetry book I have, and my most recent book is The Vow. And this is actually my 9th book. And I write on, just kind of every end of the spectrum, but I primarily like to write real life stories about things I've gone through so that I can use my personal life to help somebody else.
Okay, would you like to talk about The Vow?
Yes.
Read snippets from The Vow?
Absolutely. So my most recent book, it's a workbook. This warning y'all in advance. It's a workbook. That's why it's all tabbed out. But The Vow was actually birthed from a place of prayer. I just found myself in a lot of relationships with men that I was just tired of. And one day when I was praying, I just was complaining to God about what I was going through. And he said to me, you expect someone to treat you better than you're treating yourself. And that was like a major eye opener. And so I wrote personal vows to myself, and they really were just supposed to be private. I really didn't plan to share them with anybody, but I started sharing it with a friend of mine, and she was like, a lot of women need this. And I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and put it in the form of a book. So that is how The Vow came about. So I wrote it that way. And then what I did was I took and I made 12 vows that women should make to themselves. So I'm going to read a couple of the vows, and then I'm going to expound on one of the vows. So some of the vows are living by the word of God, eating healthy, being physically fit, remaining sexually pure, knowing how to guard your heart, getting in the right relationships, financial stability, how to handle yourself properly, making a vow to manage your time wisely, protecting what God has planted in you, your business or your ministry, seeking validation only from God, and then just being a reservoir of light. So those are some of the 12 vows that we cover. Particularly vow number 7 talks about the quality of my care. It starts with me. So this vow says, I vow to handle myself the way I desire others to handle me. I will send positive messages about who I am and how I desire to be treated. I will spend quality time with the Father in order to refresh the depths of my being. I'm sure that we neglect to realize how important our time alone with the Father speaks volumes to our self-esteem. It's our time in his presence that refreshes us and validates who we are as women. His voice is the still small voice that whispers sweet nothings in our ears when we are alone with him. This is why our time alone with him is so precious. It is our time alone in prayer that he teaches us who we are and how we should be treated. At some point in life, we should make the decision that what we have tolerated is not what we deserve. Even Jesus was still away in order to have quality time with the Father. I'm sure it was in those moments that Jesus was reaffirmed in who he was and why the Father dispatched him from heaven to the earth. And so what we do in the vow is it's an actual workbook / journal. And so this particular vow takes you into learning how to get self-care and quality time. So part of it, I have a calendar. It's like a yearly calendar. And so this activity, I ask you to check off the months that you're going to take to spend time away, or time away from work, or time away from your family. Even if you have children, I recommend getting that quality time by yourself to be refreshed and to be rejuvenated. And then I say write down at least 7 activities that you'll do while you're away. So some of the activities I wrote for myself were read and nourish my spirit and soul, have a full body massage, get a facial. I'm going to work on my physical health. I'm going to walk. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to relax. One of these I put in here, I'm not going to say, but that's kind of personal. And then I put down that I'm going to write and I'm going to journal. And I'm going to sit near the water. I love to go to the beach. I love to sit near the water. It opens me up. It inspires me to write and to hear more from God. And then the biggest thing I'm going to do is silence my phone and not get distracted from the time that I'm spending with God. And then it just gives you some blank pages to just write some reflections and, just kind of look at life from a different perspective while you're away. So those are some things that you can find in the vow. It's an excellent tool. Everybody who's been giving me feedback is like, whoo, this is a lot of work. Whoo, it's work. Yes. But I believe that if we put the personal work into it, you will, I promise you, I can't wait till I'm completely done with the vow, because I have actually been working in it myself, y'all. I ain't just asking people to do it. I'm actually working in it too. And it's been challenging me to make some commitments to myself so that I can attract the love I desire, which is ultimately why I wrote the book. So that is the vow.
When I was going through the book, I seen how it's like new, I guess notebook paper size, a little bit bigger than notebook paper size, and you had a lot of pages where you can just write notes. And I really, I'm really going to enjoy that, because I love to write all my thoughts, and it's giving me enough room to write. So I really appreciate that. I really do.
Good.
Okay. What is your genre and what draws you to this genre?
My genre is Christian nonfiction, and what draws me to it is the ability to tell real life stories that I believe will connect to people and ultimately help people bring healing to areas of their life that might have been covered, that they didn't realize they needed healing in those areas. And that's a lot of the material that I write. And mostly everything I write, I have yet to venture into fiction books. And someday I plan on doing that. But at this time, most of the books I have written have been from real life experiences, because I think it gives people a different perspective to look at their own life and see things about themselves that, like I said, may have been covered at one point.
Okay. How will readers benefit from your book?
The main benefit they are going to get is healing, restoration, learning their purpose. Sometimes we could be just going on in life and don't really know what our purpose is, or why we were created, or why are we here. And that's really where my journey started, was learning why I survived. You know, I talked about the fire earlier up in, you know, our conversation. And that was the first question I asked God: why am I still alive? You know, 3 people here, I'm the only one that makes it out. Why am I still here? And so I really just want people to look at my life as an example, to learn why they are still here, what their purpose is, and the plan God has for their life.
Okay. What inspires you to write?
That's a good question. But you know, honestly, it's God. That's what my company stands for. IBG stands for Inspired by God. And so this was really inspired by God, because I had no plans to share this with anybody. So he's the major inspiration. Some of the other inspirations are, you know, looking at issues or problems I see going on. Those are things that inspire me, especially for women, because a lot of times it's just hard to deal with our stuff, you know, because it could be so far deep buried. A lot of times people don't know how to go in and pull stuff out. So that's an inspiration as well. You know, just wanting to see people whole and complete. That's the other inspiration.
Okay. My next question was about IBG. Can you explain or tell us what that is?
Yes, IBG, again, is Inspired by God Publications. God gave me the vision for that back in 2003. I was standing in a grocery store working as a cashier, and he spoke to me and said that he's giving me the power to get wealth. And I went home and I looked at the scripture, Deuteronomy 8:18, for the Lord thy God that's given thee the power to get wealth. And he gave it to me as a business umbrella. And at that time, I wrote down Inspired by God. It turned into IBG. Over the years, I put a shorter version of it, but it was Inspired by God to write. That was what I originally wrote. And it's evolved so much over the years, from, like I said, self-publishing my first book. And then once I did it, people asked me to do it for them. And it's evolved even more, because a lot of authors, when they write a book, they don't realize they have to market it. They have to get it out there before people. And, you know, so a lot of my services have evolved based on the needs of people I've come across. So that's the reason why I started doing coaching and more marketing and teaching people how to develop streams of income around their book, you know, not just writing a book and depending solely on book sales, because that's what I did. And again, a lot of things I do are based on my journey. When I put my first book out, I wrote it and sold a few copies, maybe 100 or two. And then after that, it went flat, because I did not properly market it. Because I know that I have a story that it really has not spread as far as I know it should have spread, but it was a lack of marketing. So that's the reason why I do a lot of what I do with IBG, is helping authors, you know, to expand themselves and learn that it's more to it than just selling a book, you know. So that's a lot of what we do with IBG.
Well, I'm loving the cover of the Vow.
Thank you.
Do you think that covers play an important part in the buying process?
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. Because the cover is what draws someone in, and if the cover doesn't match the title, it confuses people, and they're like, "Okay, that's the title, but why am I looking at this picture?" So I think that it plays a huge part in it. You know, this particular cover was the friend I dedicated it to, she played a part in even the cover that I chose for it. And that's why I took all of my books. I really only have 3 of my books in circulation, because I'm redoing all my covers, because they play a huge role in drawing your reader in and making them want to turn the pages. So yes, it plays a huge role.
Okay, and again, how do you market your books?
Okay, so I primarily market through social media. I'm in the process of looking to expand beyond social media, so I'm getting ready to hire a publicity person and all of that. But primarily through social media. I do have a platform that I use every week. It's called Working Wednesdays. And so I use that platform to help authors expose their books. And then, of course, I expose my work as well. So that's another medium that we have. And then I have a website and social media. And like I said, I'm expanding myself, beyond social media at this point.
Okay, you say you have a Facebook Live. Is it Writers Wednesday?
I don't know, maybe I should turn it into Writers Wednesday. You done said something good there.
I didn't know what it was.
It's called Working Wednesdays.
Working Wednesday. Okay,
yes.
okay.
Working Wednesdays.
And where can the readers find that, or authors find that?
The authors can find Working Wednesdays on our Facebook page. The Facebook page is IBG Publications, and it does air every week on our page. And of course, my personal profile pages, and I have several, but I'm directing everybody to IBG Publications.
Okay. What is something you want readers to know about you?
I want readers to know that I care, that I am all about their success. I am all about seeing them live a whole and complete life, and that whatever that they can accomplish, I'm here to cheer them on to do it. I am that person that I am going to speak life into you. Even if I can't help you get it done, I'm going to direct you to where you can get it done. So I just want them to know that I care, that I'm all about their healing. I'm all about their success and getting over, whatever issues might be holding them up in life. That's what I want people to know about me.
Okay. What are you reading right now?
The Vow. I have been honestly, because Miss Queenie, when I put something out, I don't want it to be that I'm putting it out and I'm telling you to do something I haven't done. So I purposely, since I've gotten the Vow back, have been taking my time, going through each one by one, filling in the blanks, journaling, reflecting. That's what I'm working on right now, because I want this to be a solid message that I give to others. So that's the reason why I'm reading this and working through it. And yeah, this is what I'm into right now, because I want that season of my life that I'm welcoming in all good stuff. And so since I've been making these vows, it has totally changed the trajectory of my life. So this is what I'm reading right now.
What are you currently working on?
So here's something that's interesting. Like I was saying, I go out to the water, and I went out to the water about 2 weeks ago. And when I was out there, I got 2 new book ideas that will actually follow up this book. And so the words that came to me were the dowry. And when I heard that word, immediately I thought about, because when you hear the word dowry, you think that it is a monetary or some kind of something that's given for a woman in order to pay for her so the man can marry her. But when I looked up the definition of the word dowry, it talked about the wealth and the assets that a woman brings to the table when she gets married. And that surprised me, because I was like, that's not what I thought a dowry was. But that was the most basic definition that I found. So the 2 books that I'm working on, the second one's going to be called The Dowry, and the third one's going to be called The Elevation, Pearls of a Queen. And so they're going to be they're going to be workbooks as well. And they're going to be a part of my Working Women Win series. And so they're going to be for women. The dowry is specifically so that we can learn what assets and what value that we bring to the table in a marriage and also in a relationship. Because when we come into relationships, we should be bringing something good to the table. So the dowry is going to help us to journal through what assets do I possess. And it's not just money. It's not just money. It's not just materialistic things, but are you loyal? Are you trustworthy? Are you someone who has perseverance? So it's going to explore us in all those areas, financial as well, financial, personal, and just life. What are you bringing to the table? And then the elevation, Pearls of a Queen, is going to help put everything in place that we've done in the vow and in the dowry, and show that as you put these things in place in your life, then now you can be that queen that we say that we are in life. So that's what I'm working on next.
Okay. What has been your greatest accomplishment thus far as a author?
My greatest accomplishment has been number one, and I probably could have a lot of great accomplishments, but I'm going to say the greatest one has been the first book that I wrote. Getting the courage to tell my story and getting the courage to heal and put it in writing. And, you know, when I got my first book in my hands, if your mother, when you get that baby laid on your stomach and you just break out crying because you see your baby for the first time, that's what I did when I got my first book in my hands. I just busted out crying like somebody had just put a new baby in my hands. And so I would say that that's my greatest accomplishment, was writing the first book, sticking to it, not giving up, because, you know, my story is sensitive because I have healed from it, but I have a lot of family who had not.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so it was challenging to, you know, put my story in writing because everybody had an opinion about what happened. And like I said, some people weren't healed. So, you know, actually completing it, getting that book in my hands and just holding that new baby, that was my greatest accomplishment.
How can readers find you and your books?
They can find my books on Amazon. So if you go to Amazon.com and you put my name in the search engine, Audrea Be Heard, that's Audrea, middle initial V and last name Heard, like I heard, Heard. And my page will come up. The only 3 books that are available right now are The Vow, Crossroads, and Peace in Broken Places, which is a book I talked about the toxic relationships. So those are the 3 that are available right now. So they can find me on Amazon. They can also find me on my website, which is ibgpublications.com. So they can find me there. Those are 2 places that they can purchase my books or learn more about what I do.
All right. Is there anything else you would like to add before we close?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity. It's been a blessing. I appreciate your feedback, and I appreciate your response to the vow. That excites me. That lets me know that it's good stuff. And so I'm so grateful. I got a call trying to come in. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. And I just want to encourage somebody who might be sitting on the fence, who may be like, should I do this? Should I not? You know, I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings. Do it anyway. It's a healing journey for you. It is something that you need to do, because if you're even thinking about it, it's definitely something that you need to do. So I just want to encourage somebody to go ahead and get it done and be the author that you were called to be.
All right. Thank you for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews. Happy reading. Bye, y'all.